Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline Hofmann, and I'm the COO of Republic. We are an equity crowdfunding platform, and our mission is to democratize startup investing. I see. It's not working? Oh, here. Sorry. Now. All right. So before I get started, I would like to have a little show of hands for a couple of questions. First of all, who of you has invested in a startup? Oh, wow. Maybe 15, 20%. All right. Who of you would like to invest in a startup but thinks they just don't have the right capital, the right level of capital available? Sure hands. All right. Who here is a founder and is currently fundraising? Nice. And who of you has heard about equity crowdfunding? OK. So I really hope that I can still have most of you learn something new today. And I want to today talk about why equity crowdfunding is such a powerful tool to level the playing field for startup investing. I want to start with this little picture. These are all the founders who have raised on our platform in the last year and a half or so. And these are all the women who have raised on our platform. It's almost 50%. It's quite different from the traditional venture capital portfolio you see, right? So what is equity crowdfunding? Equity crowdfunding, most of you probably know crowdfunding, right? Indiegogo, Kickstarter, you go online, you back a project, and a couple of months later, you'll probably have a prototype, a sticker, a t-shirt in the mail, and that's typically it. You're excited about having backed a project. Equity crowdfunding is fundamentally different in one way. It is, you become an investor in the startup. And you could investments start at $10, $50, $100, but you have now a share in the upside and a vested interest in the success of the entrepreneur, which means that if the startup sells to Google or has an IPO, you actually can get a return of 10x, 100x, 1,000x. This is actually a quite radical and new idea because until recently, only the wealthiest 3% of the population had access to startup investing. Only people with a net worth of $1 million and income, household income of multiple $100,000 per year could actually access these opportunities. And even less people actually knew how to find private startups to invest in. And so this has radically changed, opening this market up to millions and millions of new people who can now invest in startups. So why have you, many of you may not have heard of this before. I saw a small show of hands, but not everyone had heard of equity crowdfunding. Why? Well, the industry is actually still in its infancy. I always say it's toddler age. The industry is 2 years old, roughly. And so we're still educating a lot of people about this really new and groundbreaking opportunity. Why should you care? I think this answer is really different whether you're a founder or you're an investor. This example that you see here is Fatima from Jetpack. She's a founder, and she raised $250,000 on Republic last year. And if you asked a founder like her why equity crowdfunding matters, it's basically 2 reasons. The first one is, well, she's fundraising. She can raise up to, you can all raise up to $1 million through equity crowdfunding. And because it's a platform, there's not a ton of paperwork involved. And we roll all of these investors up into one line in the cap table. So that's a fairly easy tool, and it's an online tool that has less friction than getting 10 angels to do the same thing. The second thing is actually the really exciting thing. Equity crowdfunding allows to build an army, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of investors on the ground who are the startup's advocate. Because it doesn't matter if someone invested $10 or $50 or $100. People are proud to be an investor, and they will tell their friends about, hey, I invested in this company, and you should check it out. When I was looking at this industry, my first equity crowdfunding investment was into a dating app. And I had never tried online dating. I have still not tried online dating. I'm happily married, but I told all my friends about this new dating app, and I said, hey, you should try it out. And then they would text me, and they would say, hey, I was on this date with this dating app. It was great. It created a real, it was very natural for me to be an evangelist of the startup, and I'd only invested $50 or so. So this is the power of having hundreds, and imagine having hundreds and hundreds of people out there doing exactly that. So now, you may say, well, I'm not a founder, why should I care? Well, you could be an investor. This is, by the way, these are some quotes from founders who did equity crowdfunding and the value that they found from it. So back to, why should you care if you're not a founder? Well, there are lots of reasons to invest in startups, and the first one, though, is typically you are expecting a return, right? So that's the most straightforward reason. You can actually make money. How many of you had invested in Spotify? No one, right? Because Spotify just IPO'd. If you had been an early investor, you'd probably have seen a 100x return, but this opportunity wasn't available unless you were an early employee. This is actually, equity crowdfunding is there to potentially completely rewrite this, right? So when there are IPOs, big tech IPOs, hopefully there will be many, many that actually help thousands of investors who were the loyal backers, users, evangelists, have a return when there is an exit. It can dramatically rewrite the story of actually rewarding a lot of people, a lot of early users when there are exits of tech companies. The second reason is it's actually easy. A lot of you will think about startup investing and think it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of things to sign. It actually takes some time to source deals, and then afterwards you have to negotiate the terms, or you will have to follow on terms you don't actually like, et cetera, and sourcing deals is very time consuming. Well, here, startup investing takes 3-4 minutes. That's the beauty of it. You can obviously spend longer researching, but if you really don't want to spend that much time, it can be as easy as being on a brokerage account or buying something on Amazon. And the last reason is actually an really important one, and one that is close to my heart. We all know that women invest at lower rates. They have less brokerage accounts, less 401ks, are just much less active investors. And we also know that very few VCs are women and very few angel investors are women, much less than men. This is an opportunity for women to actually take $10, $50, and back ideas that they believe in, whether that is backing women founders, backing minority founders, backing or investing in ideas that they care about, such as clean tech or consumer goods. This is a way to actually have a stake and have a say in the startups that you want to see grow. Another question I often get is, like, are we opposed to VCs? How does that relate to VCs? How does equity crowdfunding relate to that? Well, we think it's a great complement. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be one or the other, but it doesn't have to be. Equity crowdfunding is such a powerful tool to galvanize the crowd that it doesn't have to stand in opposition with venture capital, and the two complete each other actually quite nicely. I want to end on a personal note. I'm obviously excited about what I'm helping build at Republic, and I'm obviously excited about the industry, but that's not really the point. I actually think that if all of us get involved, and if we use the power of many, we can fundamentally change the fabric of the startup ecosystem. We would have more women founders, more minority founders, and as these companies grow, we would have a much more diverse workplace. And this is the power that equity crowdfunding can really unleash, because it gives all of you the power to really affect change and affect the change that you want to see. Thank you very much.